Welcome back to your favorite podcast. It's Hoop Therapy, brought to you by your co-host K Sean, aka Killer K, aka the King of Queens, aka your favorite Tar Heel. And with me, as always, my highly esteemed co-host.
It's D-Chaps, aka Danny C. Pull up a seat back on our couch and enjoy some therapy.
Hey man, it's therapy without a fee. All we ask you like, subscribe, review, and go ahead and hit that follow button. Sit back, we got y'all.
All right, you're live and recording. Welcome.
Welcome back to another week of Hoop Therapy. How's it been going, man? I can imagine it's been a tough week for you.
The weeks have turned to months, years, feeling. Tough is the best way to put it. Yeah, it was a rough time handling the result of where last game in the conference finals kind of took it.
Okay.
In the theme of sorrow, let's just touch base on kind of more unbiased pain going around the league. So the news of Doc Rivers coming out, bro. I know it's something that we were both like thinking of talking about. So what's your take on it? How do you feel?
It wasn't shocking, but it was shocking at the same time because you had a lot of people saying that he probably shouldn't stay after his third blown 3-1 lead, the second there. There was a lot of rumblings, but it didn't seem like he was going to get fired. The season had passed for them by a little bit, so it didn't seem like he was going to go. And then Ballmer was just like, it's time for you to go. I get it, but that's a little rough. How you feel about Doc? He's won that chip there in Boston. Yeah, first one with a color TV. So
I think that I think it made sense just because the fact that there was a lot of ways you could have tweaked the way they could have performed. There was obviously they were getting attacked on defensive liabilities like Montrez and Lou, and they could have sat them down a little bit more. But at the end of the day, I felt like it was more of an implosion on the players. So I didn't really exactly expect Doc to go just yet. I felt like another year at least would have gone by of seeing where they at least landed, but then again, it could have been expected because he had his trouble. It sounds like he's about to come back east, and I think he has a better opportunity there because I think the team that they constructed in LA for the Clippers was just not exactly the easiest to gel together.
Yeah, and you could tell they just had pieces that were mismatched at times. You had a bunch of isolation scorers, and that's good. You need a couple of those in the playoffs, but you don't need everybody to be an ISO scorer. They didn't have playmakers. You can't really blame that on Doc. But, there was chemistry issues, and it seems to be a lot of chemistry issues with Doc's team. So, I guess, it was probably time for him to go. He's been there 8 years anyway. So, a new voice in the building is probably what they need. But that's a tough job. It looks like Ty Lue, who's on the staff, might be the front runner for the job. I know he's looking at some other jobs, but if he's the front runner, that's a tough mess to clean up. And you got PG and Kawhi on contract years. They'll probably stay, but the fact that they can opt out and they're not guaranteed to stay, that's a lot of pressure. And you're trying to fix so-called chemistry issues. I think next year for the Clippers is going to be, just really interesting.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably like the best bet though, like having Ty Lue just step up right from there. When he was in his tenure with the Cavs, a lot of people had respect for him, or it was like rumored that the team basically had very much respect for him as an individual, and I think that drives a lot. So if he can get a hold of the locker room and just lead them to a better success, I feel like it's the best bet rather than getting somebody fresher and newer in there because you really have to take care of the mess, like you're saying, and kind of steer it forward.
Yeah, to me, Tyronn Lue isn't a bad choice. I don't know if I was him if I would want to do that.
Yeah.
Because the last job he got was the Cleveland one, and they fired Blatt throughout the year when he was doing well, and he had to do like a cleanup job there and lead them to a title. So I don't know if he would want to do something like that. I mean, there's multiple openings still out there, so he doesn't have to just jump on this one. The world turns for him, I suppose, when it goes to the Clippers. So,
Yeah.
so to me, Tyronn Lue should just. I just saw he took a meeting with the Sixers, and to me, that's an interesting spot. You got some multiple pieces over there, but I don't know if I'd want the Clippers, even though they already made championship contender.
Yeah, it's a tricky job, but the coaching job market right now is pretty open. So there's a bunch of opportunities kind of elsewhere.
Exactly. So I just saw Doc is talking to the Sixers too. So it's it's real interesting. I want to know what he told him and what he told the Sixers, and then what Tyronn Lue told the Sixers. I mean, they probably pointed the blame at each other, no?
Right, right, right.
Yeah, going for the same job. You just left the same job. I mean, it's gonna be it's gonna be an interesting coaching carousel. So with the firing of Doc Rivers, gotta mention there's only 4 black head coaches in the NBA left. So
It's getting into
that's
stickier waters.
It's getting for all the talk of them being a progressive league, and they're not the NFL. Out of 30 teams, they only got 4 guys. So that number's going to grow after this coaching cycle.
Yeah, that's
Most
what I was gonna say. I
definitely,
mean, a couple of the guys who
but
got fired or are still assistant coaches still have a possibility of getting hired and should most likely get hired. I think they issued raises afterwards. If after the free agency that none of them do get, or little to none of them do get hired, then that's where kind of an issue can be arose, kind of thing.
exactly. But I'm just going based
So,
off history. History tells me. I mean, they might get it, but we'll see.
so in one direction, you see kind of an implosion on the Clippers, and coach gets fired, etc. And Denver moved on, but like everybody else in the West, got gentlemen swept by the Lakers. Where do you see what's your just overall opinion on Denver at the moment after seeing what Jamal just did, seeing what Jokic just did, and knowing who they have coming back next year, who they have kind of started out with Grant and MPJ, and where they land themselves in the standings next year? What's your take on Denver?
Okay, well, welcome to the obituary section. I guess that's what we can call this.
This is
Um,
a very sorrowed out episode for sure.
right.
The fact that
Where's
we have to
the
talk about Lakers in the finals, this is. I have a tissue
oh
box
no,
right next to me.
that's fine for me. We can get on the piano and play some scary music. Where's Sterling Kubrick when you need him? But to me, the Nuggets have probably the brightest future of the teams that were left in the 4 bubble teams left.
In the conference
And
finals.
and yeah, I mean, you say wow, you say that with Boston, the Lakers, uh, the Heat, and but I think Denver. You got Michael Porter Jr., who, as long as he just stops being a negative on defense, which isn't that hard to ask, I think he's got some juice in him. He's a potential superstar, and you pair him with Jamal Murray, who's ascended to superstardom, and Nikola Jokic, who's a superstar. You got some pieces you can move around. We'll see what happens with Jeremy Grant if they keep him. Word is he's going to opt out and keep Denver a priority, but we'll see. He made himself quite a bit of money that last series the last 2 series between guarding Kawhi and Paul George, and then coming in this series and guarding Anthony Davis and LeBron James. And
It's interesting. A question for you as you're saying things like something I hear often and get kind of confused by is like I think a proper definition of the word like superstar needs to be laid down because if you're saying that Jamal Murray's eclipsing into stardom or has put his foot in, where in the top number category do you put Jamal Murray? Is he
okay,
top 30, top 45, top
you're right, you're right, you're
etc.?
right.
So
My
how
my
many
apologies.
superstars are in the league? Like I feel like superstars got to be left. I wouldn't even call Jokic superstar, and I wouldn't even
No,
call anybody outside the top 5 superstars because then you start getting into tricky territories trying to label a superstar farther down the line.
you're right, you're
Jokic
right.
should definitely be top 10, but I feel like we should only have a few superstars in the league, if that.
That's true. You're right about that. To me, okay, Jamal Murray
But
ascended into
define
a
a
different
superstar.
plateau. A superstar is a a guy that you have, and as long as you have that guy, you're guaranteed to be in the running. So like a LeBron, you have a Giannis, you have a James Harden who's a superstar. I'm
A
missing
Kawhi,
guys. Yes, a Kawhi.
a
Um,
KD, a Steph, and I think that's where
a
that kind of
KD.
those
You can
tiers.
so you can catch me on the Steph. Steph is a very great player, but he was a superstar at his peak. Right now, we'll see what he is when he comes back.
Yeah,
Things is different, but yeah, these are superstar type players. As long as you have them, but yeah, Curry. I don't know. You need Curry and somebody else. You can't just say just because we have Curry, we have a chance at a chip. It's
yeah, it's
just
true.
something. Mm,
And this was kind of like the year to see it, and then with the injury, you didn't really get the opportunity to.
right. And if I'm saying that, you'd have to say it about James Harden too. To be fair,
Yeah,
and Giannis. To be fair, but you know, if we're just talking about superstar talent players, these are guys that are it. So I think Jamal Murray ascended into a level where he wasn't. I guess he's not a superstar, but he played like a superstar throughout the entire playoffs. Um, I think he has enough level to reach. I. It's just tough in the West. I can't even say if he'll be an All Star just because every every guard that's stacked up out there. But I think the Nuggets' future is bright. You don't want to give anybody moral victories, but they showed themselves well, even though they got out in a gentleman's sweep. Um, let's go Nuggets. Mile High
yeah.
City is gonna have some things to smile about if they can keep that core. I do think they need to find a backup five or just some relief for Jokic because you can't be having Mason Plumlee out there. And like throughout the regular season, he wasn't bad, but in the playoffs, he was just like terrible. And his warts were just exposed because he can't dribble. I mean, he's a decent passer, but he can't shoot for nothing. You can defend, but it's just like, what are you really out here for? He gets cooked a lot too, so.
I think that role might be one of the hottest, like grabs for this summer coming up, or not even. Wow, can it's not even the summer. What do you call? I guess it's just technically the winter now, the off season. But
The off
I
season,
feel
man.
I feel like a lot of teams could definitely use that versatile kind of backup center or backup big to kind of give relief to whatever they have on the ground, or just kind of enforce their bench. I feel like a lot of teams like already have solidified fives or solidified cores, and they're just a lot of people like I think one of the hottest people out there is going to be like Harry Giles, being that kind of
Mm.
like comparable like backup big. Both those Kings guys, Rashawn Holmes. Um, I know people are
Yeah.
going to want what's his
Is
name
it?
from Memphis, Gorgiel Jang and stuff. Kevin Love's
Gorgie.
gonna be Kevin Love's gonna be a hot trade piece. Like, you know, I feel like
Mm.
that completes a lot of teams.
See, but you get those guys, and like a guy like Harry Giles, you get him, and then he misses half the season
Yeah,
because of various injuries. I mean, it's tough. I mean, these are the margins. The margins are thin. See, the
yeah,
Lakers, their team, they don't really have that problem, but they just have all the bigs. They don't play JaVale McGee that much, but we have AD who can play the 5 and the 4, and soak up those backup 5 minutes. Like things get much easier. So, you need. It's just tough out here. It's tough. You see, even the
it's a
Clippers,
tight
they had a
market.
bunch. Yeah, the Clippers had a bunch of talent, and even that wasn't enough. You gotta. It's something different that it takes to win a championship. And you either have it or you don't, or you have like 4 All-Stars in their prime, like the Warriors.
Yeah, yeah. I think that really changed up like the idea. So everybody wanted to stack up as much as possible, and the Lakers kind of went the different route, which is fine being top heavy, and then just filling out like comparable role players at the bottom, and they ended up having success because on paper in every matchup that they faced. I mean, we'll jump into it later too, but everybody always like found the holes in the guards and the lack of defense, but having just enough top heavy players kind of just balance it out. Like too much look like it's been poisoning, teams like the Raptors and the Rockets and et cetera, where you felt like there was so many good matchups, and the Clippers too, and it just ended up didn't being cohesive enough to give them the edge, unless it's like four bona fide all stars like the Warriors did, it's not really worth it.
Exactly. So, how do you see the Nuggets panning out? Do you see them as a top 14 moving forward in the West, or
Top four, I don't know. I think that I definitely see the Mavericks making moves to help out Luka in his situation there, especially seeing how different of a level he pushed himself into for the playoffs. So I think that they'll propel themselves into that top four spot, and the Clippers will be there. And I think the Rockets still have an opportunity to make a bunch of good signings to kind of tweak what they had going for them.
they ain't
So
got
I
no
think
money
that
though, and they own a
uh,
cheap, and he own
yeah,
restaurants and hotels, so he know
yeah,
he being
he on
extra
the
cheap.
he on the decline. But there's always an
Hmm.
opportunity. If you're aggressive and you're trade happy, there's ways you can make it work. So I wouldn't count them out per se. And then to put the next kind of team in there, I'd put the Mavericks in there, but I'd definitely say the Nuggets are creeping up on being some of the best teams. They've had regular season success, but I think this was the first year I've
I
really
mean,
seen a
the
different
last two
kind of
years they
energy.
were 2-3 in the West, and this year they were
Exactly, yeah,
two most of the year. So
essentially. But
uh,
then it came down to kind of playoff success, and they kind of were a little lacking. But this year, I mean, you just saw a
they did
different
it,
kind of
yeah.
energy. So I see them being really like top five. I put them at that fifth spot because I can't see anybody else superseding them. Um, I wonder how it's going to work with MPJ's arising and Will Barton coming back. I think Will Barton is kind of a better offensive talent, even though MPJ has so much more potential since he's so young. But kudos to Jamal Murray for finding that kind of next level in his game and that consistency and that grit. I think he's just on the map now, and he's definitely Robin to the Batman of Jokic, like officially, because it was in question for a while. And Jokic is just one of my favorite players because the man is just so unorthodox physicality wise and then talent wise too. But he continues to just be a winner. So I see them being real successful, and it's gonna be interesting how much they mature for next year. They can't plateau. They can only be on a higher level.
Yeah, top three seed in the West guaranteed next year. You can book it. Write it down.
Definitely should make them the conference finals with that youth, man, for sure.
Yeah. But let's move on to Massachusetts, where there's
Oh
a
man,
great city where Paul Revere once rode. I mean, great in quotations. Uh, there's a team that ran out of luck, the Four Leaf Clovers. How do you feel about you guys getting bounced by Bam Adebayo and Goran Dragic and Tyler Hero?
and Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson and the collective efforts of freaking Solomon Hill getting minutes. It was
Well, you
a
know what?
mess.
I feel like I should sing a song for
Yeah,
to
we got
commemorate this. You
cue
know,
the sad music for sure. I mean,
swing low, sweet chariot,
listen, listen.
coming forth to carry me home. You know,
I have a
R.I.P.
million and one thoughts. Um, I guess to start off in the easiest way is that we got bombarded. Like the Heat were a freight train from tip off all the way in, and you know, I don't know what it's gonna take to turn the corner for these young kids because at the end of the day they are still young, but I can't keep giving them escape that way.
Mm.
The Heat came through, and the reason why the Heat have looked so sharp, and the reason why we were talking about the Heat being against the Bucks was the fact that their identity of kind of sticking to their shooting and sticking to their defensive like nature and sticking to their hustle just gave them an edge over a bunch. Because like we said in earlier pods, that the bubble really included that whoever came in with the strongest identity of who they were going to be the most successful because there's no time to really figure it out at this point. You have to really know what you're going to run because this element's different. The home nature's out of it, and the Heat kind of just buckled down and stuck through with it. In the series, you didn't really see anything from Jimmy Butler, and it was crazy to expect because you were thinking that in some degree he was going to be the focal point of the offense. But at the end of the day, they were just a way better team collectively. And we'll jump into our finals preview. So to get on Boston in that series, I mean, they came out front heavy. It was what a 19-point lead in the third quarter, game one, 16-point lead in the third quarter, game two. Tie game in game three won the game. Wait, do we? No, we won the game 3, then lost the next two. I mean, it's just there has to be some sort of, I don't know
Wait,
if it's
y'all
different.
lost in 5?
Yeah. Oh no, we lost in 6. We lost in 6. We lost
Oh,
in
I'm about to
6.
say, yeah.
It's all jumbled in my head. But at the end of the day, third quarters have been an issue for years coming now, and I mean we're gone from the Kyrie years, and we're gone from the IT years, and we're gone from that. So this is a new team who should have had a new identity, but in those third quarters we kind of collapsed, and there's got to just be some sort of differentiation. And in my perspective, it's got to be in the roster. I think that we're just lacking some veteran scoring or shooting or depth. Honestly, once it drops off from Ennis Cantor to Brad Wanamaker, I mean, it just kills us. And that kind of lack of that, and then the lack of attack and lack of prioritization of winning the game in those second halves killed us. There was no chance that I thought we were going to lose because on paper we were the way better team, but Miami showed up game in and game out and was the way better team hustle wise. So they kind of gritted us out and punked us. And Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson had their day over Kemba, shooting left and right. So to jump into the Celtics, I guess I could go top down with this, but
Yeah,
I think
this is your obituary. Give your moratorium to the team you love getting booted out. I'm just soaking this all in as
I
a
think
Celtics hater.
top to bottom, I mean, I think blame goes first and foremost to Gordon and Kemba, and I can only
Okay, then
be
you know what? Before you go, let me guide you real quick. Who do
uh,
you want off the team next year? Who has to go?
who has to go is Kemba. I mean,
Mm.
at the end of the day, Kyrie, and as you could tell, what just got leaked from their podcast together, which they both are extremely sus individuals, and fuck the both of them in KD and Kyrie, where they admitted to the fact that video of them, joking around at All-Star Weekend, and was in fact them agreeing on the fact that they wanted to go to a different team. So that means that by February's time, Kyrie was checked out the door. And he literally sat there in front of the Boston media and was saying like, "This is why I don't talk to you guys, because you assume everything, and this is why I don't want to talk to you. This is why I'm disconnected. This is why I'm frustrated as an individual." Cap. What a lying asshole. Um, that whole year left us in a mess, and the fact that he couldn't at least be honest enough to tell the organization why where he was going is the reason why Al left. He even said he would have re-signed if he knew the plan was to get Kemba. Unfortunately, timing did not work out that way. Kemba had to be the saving grace of where we're going to do with the point guard spot. But you would never have expected for Marcus Smart to be as good as he was, and for B, the Jays to step up their playmaking abilities. Jason Tatum has become a a really good playmaker where he was decent enough to be okay at it. Now he's an above 5 assist a game player. So that's one progression. And then Jaylen Brown has become a steady aggressive attack, also with having a playmaking ability of getting at least 4 assists a game. So combined, you're going to have 10 assists a night from those two individuals on the forward spot with having a point forward in Gordon Hayward. I mean, the idea was that we were going to be lacking the playmaking, but the progression of all the young talent wasn't expected to be this immense, but they took it levels up, and you can't knock them for it. But then it becomes, okay, now Kemba, what is your role? He had shooting slumps, which killed his offensive impact. He had, was just a defensive liability in every series in every possible way. And when it came to a smart team like the Heat, he got attacked on every single defensive possession. So what point are you going to make him taller? You can't help the fact that he's like about 6 feet. What are you going to make him
Exactly.
stronger? He's got it's really hard to win with a small point guard, and you can do it if they have
Exactly.
some sort of impact. But his impact on the offensive
Hey,
end was
that's
taken
how
away.
that's how
What
cold Isaiah Thomas was. Not the recent Isaiah Thomas. Zeke. That's how cold he was. He got 2 championships, being about 6 feet, just cooking niggas. That's how
But
cold he was.
he had the impact offensive that was not able to take him out of the game. Essentially, you could have
Mhm.
took there were situations where you took Kemba out of the game and you left Smart in, and those were winning minutes. There's no
Mhm.
liability on the defensive end. So it's like, it's hard as hell. And now it's like, Tatum's gonna be now a driving kicker. Like now that he has unlocked that about his game, like now he has probably solidified that those 5 to 6 assists a game. Jalen's now aggressive enough to really drive as well and make plays under the basket. So it's like those two spots of where the offense was kind of lacking and where people were like, oh, you're going to take those shots. Next year is going to be a situation where he's legitimately going to take those shots because the Jays need those shots.
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't the same going into it this year where it was, everything can be balanced and that's where the pride is. Now it's like, okay, now we have these two stars coexisting. Like now we need to funnel everything through it. So Kemba can be like, a scoring plug off the bench, if that be our Lou Will, but then he's the highest paid player on the team. So where do you go with that? I wish to get it off the books. I wish that, we would have seen the future kind of, looking glass and just know that it wasn't a completely necessary pull. We could have, built out the bench a little bit more. And that's, I think, where we're going into the summer is trying to build the bench. But yeah, so I mean, to answer who I think should go is him first.
Mm.
Even though it's my guy, I fuck with him heavy. I love him a lot. At the end
I'm
of the day, it
surprised.
hurt. It hurt to see you. That game that Tyler Hero balled out. He got hit, like the beginning half of that hot run all over Kemba's head. I just watched a shot over shot, and then the confidence just built. If you're gonna let him get 18 uncontested looks, the next 15 aren't gonna be that hard either.
Right. It's like, well, damn, if it's this easy, swap. I
So
mean,
it's so
okay.
I mean, and to the people who want Gordon Hayward out, I mean, I can see from one perspective why, but at the end of the day, I can only give him his props. I mean, he's got 1 year left. I mean, he's has all the
That's
injuries
why
he
he's a good
faced,
trade piece.
all the injuries he faced, but I mean, at his value right now, not really. He looks like a bad contract at this moment. If he plays
But
up to it, yeah,
it's an expiring contract though.
it's true.
It
That's
come off
why
the
I
books.
think
Summer
so.
2021 is the one that's everybody wants. So you
So
can move Gordon.
when you ask like yeah like who you would want, I would say Kemba, but who realistically is going to, it's probably Gordon if a trade is there. Who the trade could be for, I don't really know. I mean, I see Victor Oladipo trying to leave, and I've agreed that I would love to have him there. I've
Yeah,
seen talks of having Cat. I would love to have Cat. Um,
y'all not getting him.
and then I don't really know what else is out there with Gordon, what Gordon Hayward's value is. But all I can say is
Miles
that
Turner is your
he
value.
no, you see at that point, just rock out the contract. Like it's not worth it to that point. Tice has value, and Rob Williams showed that he has value too.
Yeah,
You
but
just kind of
Rob,
need them to blend together to be one. If you can find a guy that's blended to both their talents, I think I
but
want Harry, bro. I want Harry Giles for sure.
here's the thing with the Celtics. They seem to always be perpetually stuck in two timelines. They always we have draft picks, we have young guys. Oh, but we also have some veterans. And like we're trying to win now, but we're also trying to win in the future. Which one do we want to do? And they always get stuck and they end up not doing anything. They always become the bridesmaid and never the bride. They get left right at the conference finals altar, standing there.
It's it's
You know?
it's it's a really hard way to go about because I don't think Tatum's Braun or KD or that guy that you're like, oh shit, he's 23 and he's ready to hold the whole reins. He's really fucking good and can bring us there, but we also need to build around that. And then it's also like, okay, he's 23 and he's 22, so we have to prepare to build a team in maybe 2 to 3 years. Barring that this doesn't exactly come through, which it didn't last year. So thankfully, there's a safety net behind it. But I think at some point there is a need to go all in. And I think that right now we're poised again with having a weak bench. I mean, I think Grant turned out pretty good. Rob Williams looked like he could stay. So the Williams could stay. The rest of the rookies, I don't really think that it's worth it trying to build some point guards or build some wings out of them. Get Semi Ojeleye and Brad out of there, get some guys. Try to go get a shooter. Try to go get Bertans. Somebody to be just a liable shooter and defender.
Yeah,
So
and
they
you
have.
need to tell Marcus Smart not to ever shoot 13 threes again in the NBA basketball game. Never.
It just depends
He shouldn't
because at the
even
end of the day,
practice shooting 13
at the end of
threes.
the
Like,
day, when he's going 5 for 5 against the Raptors in the fourth quarter stretch, like you're not really knocking him for it. I just think he needs to
no.
have time being the starting point guard and really figuring out his role offensively because he is almost the heart and soul. So he
Oh,
feels like he has to take over a lot, and
okay,
that just
well,
end up being a bunch of forced opportunities.
I can tell him this. His role is not to jack up threes off the dribble with 18 seconds left on the shot clock. That's not his role.
It's true.
That's not who he is. Even if he can be the most improved shooter ever, his role will never be shoot the ball with 18 seconds left without getting anybody else involved in the offense. That's
It's true.
not gonna cut it. But
But
you, you
I
know,
think you can't knock him for not take. He took a step up. I think that in my mind, Marcus Smart got way better over this playoff run. He's looked like a legitimate starting point guard. He could be our better Kyle Lowry. He'll pan out as an
I,
actual starting point guard. You know.
we'll see. But I don't need him to do that. He can hit the occasional three, and I need you to be a supercharged Patrick Beverly. I don't need you coming out here pulling up threes in 20 seconds. I got guys that can do that. That's what Jason Tatum is for. That's what Jalen Brown is for. That's not your role. Like I get you've been practicing your 3 pointers. Cool. But that's not what I need you to do. You hit a couple. Cool. Still stick to the script. Like, and I think he gets off like thinking, I hit a couple, I can keep shooting. Like, no, no, no. You are not a strong shooter, sir. Stop it. Stop.
Yeah, it was like it was. I think it was game 3, fast break. Jalen Brown and Tice both under the cup, and Smart bringing the ball up took a, pull up transition 3 on the right corner, and it was just like you got to figure it out, man. But to get back to Gordon Hayward, I give him all the props for playing through injuries that he should not be coming back for just for the sake of winning. Even though it hurts, it's still humbling to see somebody risk their body just to help out the benefit of the team. And B, for missing the birth of his own son to be able to help out winning. I mean, he makes sacrifices night in and day out, and it's not really appreciated because people see him hobbled and they watch him at a light when he's not at his height. But at the end of the day, he was a 17-7-4 guy for us all year, and ended up resulting in a lot of wins with his good play. So he's done at the best that he's could. And he just got bit by the injury bug out of nowhere. I mean, before Boston, he was not even a guy to be considered to be injury prone. He played basically 82 games all of his seasons in the Jazz. The injury with the Cavs was completely fucked up and one of the grossest things like injury wise you've seen ever. And then the wrist injury was just catastrophic. Other than that, it's been poor management of bringing him back at the right times. But it's not to say that he's completely out the window. So I give him complete, props, even though people are just looking at him as a bust or a terrible signing, etc. If we would have seen this back then, like, you would never go for it. It's not like he was a guy he's not a Derrick Rose, he's not a Blake Griffin. He's not a guy you expect him to just be done. He had the best years ahead of him before we made the contract. So,
yeah, it's
I'm ready.
Probably time to move him.
I'm ready I'm ready to run it back. I'm ready to run it back. Tatum is knocking on the door of superstardom, and I can say that even with the definition of a guy you can rally behind because he took like 4 leaps in his game. He became aggressive. He became a playmaker. He actually stopped with the long twos and, enhanced his IQ of the offensive end, and defensively he took himself to a different level as well. And I'm ready to rally behind him. And then Jalen Brown has closed the gap talent-wise than most people expected him to, and has showed himself as an actual potent scorer, and he's been known for his defensive efforts. So I'm ready to rally behind the Jays and run it back and see how we can make this work.
Yeah, you're going to need something else. You can't just run it back in that sense. It's going to need something at the center position because, hopefully Joel Embiid gets a competent coach, and then you still got Bam to deal with. So it's going to get...
It's a tough one, but we'll see how they manage the summer. I don't think it's going to be a summer to make no moves. I think that Brad has to be signed again. Enes Kanter has to be signed again. Tice has to get extended. So a couple guys that are and then we're going to have to throw the max at Tatum. So it's a summer to definitely look at the financials and definitely expect to make some moves with what the roster is, knowing that money's going to get a little tight down the line.
Mm-hmm. But to move on to teams that are still here, still in the bubble. We can close the casket on the Nuggets and the Celtics alike.
Unfortunately.
Fortunately for some. Let's move on to your West Coast team, the Lakers, and the Miami Heat, which would be an amazing finals if it was to actually happen in the real world. To go from LA to Miami to LA to Miami to LA to Miami. I don't know how you could top that. But
yeah, I mean, for the people that work actually writing for the teams or in sports that actually get to be media members at each game, going back and forth, that would have been an experience and a half.
Oh, I would have filed for a media license.
Right.
Me.
Get me on the NBA Twitter poll.
Let me in, please. But so where's your mind at for this series? How do you think, at fresh off watching Bam for 6 games, how do you think he could be effective in this series against the Lakers and their size?
I think confidence is key when it comes to the NBA. I mean, once you realize that you have that advantage over others, that you can definitely utilize it. And I think Bam definitely saw he is best in the spot up game against centers, and there's not the greatest defensive centers on the Lakers. I think Jokic has a completely different play style, so Bam having that spot up kind of face in the basket game definitely helps him out. But the Lakers bigs have been playing really well, so they're going to kind of limit him facilitating wise. And I think that they're going to allow him to shoot a lot because they've seen that he's not exactly great in it. But then again, I saw him have this kind of rim running floater that I didn't really expect him to have that consistently, but he really showed up with that. So I think he's got a little bit of edge aggressively and confidently now after the conference finals with his offensive game. So I think it'll be interesting. I think the Heat have something going with what their game plan is right now against any team in the NBA. So it's going to be interesting to see how the shooters pair up with how the Lakers have been defending, etc. I'm super excited because at the end of the day, Spo is turning out to be still one of the best coaches in the NBA. And, he's definitely getting his guys in front of a whiteboard like every minute of the day, chalking up everything he knows about Bron.
Yeah.
They're probably watching a ton of Miami film, watching a ton of Cleveland film. Like Spo's gonna pull a lot out of his bag for Bron, I expect. The zone was tough. I mean, they were dialed in defensively. The thing that I saw with the zone, which sucked for us, was that the forwards that are kind of, or the bigs that are in the back, since they put the forwards at the front, the bigs and the guards that kind of guard the rim and the corners aren't necessarily the quickest or the smartest. Bam and those two guys in the corner aren't really like looking at the undercuts, but we just didn't have a big to punish them with. We didn't have lobs to throw, and we didn't have kind of a big to dive in and get that position. But it's a little different with the Lakers because they have bouncy bigs. So I think that zone's going to crumble quicker. And I think that Spo's going to have to think of something more on the fly to kind of prevent the drive from Bron and that above the rim play from the bigs.
Right, because you put Anthony Davis in the middle of a zone. I mean, that's like tailor made. The way he was hitting that mid range last series, well,
It's not
most of the playoffs.
It's not no Daniel Tice being in the middle of the zone.
Exactly,
it's a whole different monster.
Right, yeah. Anthony Davis is actually going to catch the ball.
Yeah, he's going to shoot it.
Right, so
Daniel Tice was never a terrible shooter, but when he got the ball in the zone, he choked up. I don't know what
he was like, "Damn, there's a lot of people looking at me."
Right. Like, no.
He's like, "No, I don't want this. Let's try this somewhere else." I mean, but do you think the Lakers can go big in this series? I don't think, because the way the Heat run so many shooters out there. It's like, if the White is checking Bam, I mean, I'm sure AD can check Jay Crowder or somebody like that. But once they go ultra small, I wonder how long the Lakers will stay big. I mean, that Heat zone is going to get out rebounded like it's nothing. So they're going to have to fight and compete on the boards. I suspect Vogel's probably going to go big for game one and see how it works out. I think Dwight will have a presence in the series. I want JaVale to be good, but JaVale, I don't know. He's just not good. Bam is going to just take advantage of him because he's even worse than Thice. Ooh. I'm sorry. I'm watching this Everton and West Ham game.
I thought you were saying that because of your take.
Oh, my take's so fire.
Right. So you're coming out there tongue hot.
Nah, because attempted a bike and almost made it. Pickers made a good save.
But to go off that, I mean, I think that they'll be fine going big because a lot of the Miami zone or a lot of Miami offense kind of puts the guard into trouble. It makes the guard make decisions and follow the shooter. So I think that if they just kind of stay concrete on the perimeter and not switch too often and clog the paint for Bam on the roll, because Bam basically never pops. He didn't. I guess I saw a metric actually with the conference final where he didn't pop off a screen once. It was all rim running or clearing the space. So I mean, they're not going to be worried about that. And I think they have the length to get to the shooters. But the shooters are hot right now, so I don't know if Lakers the Lakers immediately are going to go small. I think they're going to give it a couple games going big. The Heat try their best not to go small because when they went small, they started playing Solomon Hill more and Jay Crowder a lot more, and they're just not that consistent offensively. So then you lose minutes there. But
Yeah.
LeBron's going to be a freight train left and right, so a lot of people are going to get into foul trouble. So it's going to be interesting to see how the rotations definitely shift because I think they're not. It's just a different way, completely different
The,
strategy than the Celtics.
yeah. The Heat put you in foul trouble a lot too. They put
True.
pressure on you. They screen a lot. They run. They move. So the Lakers are gonna have to be diligent. I
Yeah.
think if they do run that five bigs out lineup out, it'll be not five bigs, but their bigs lineup. It'll be short lived. Just because how many times you're going to be running around screens, and Miami is well conditioned, like so that's what they do. So, but I think the Lakers are going to be able to score this series. That's not going to be a problem because they could defend. This will be the best defense the Miami Heat have seen. They've played the Bucks and the Celtics, who aren't any slouches in their own right. But this is something different. You didn't have, you had to deal with Giannis, but you didn't have to deal with LeBron and AD. So
I think it's more so for the Lakers. If you're scaling kind of what defensive schemes they've seen, I think the Heat going to present the absolute best defense the Lakers have seen so
exactly,
far.
yeah, it goes both ways, yeah.
Yeah, both ways, but more so on the Lakers end because I don't think the teams that they've played so far have been defensively keyed in at all. But then you've seen the Miami Heat run at least like 20 different defensive schemes throughout their whole playoff run. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I'm not going to be stupid enough to chalk the Lakers off again. I mean, I think they're going to take this series because they've just been absolutely dominant in their performances. But it's going to be interesting to see how they respond to a team that's actually going to be dialed in a different defensive scheme because it throws you off for sure.
Absolutely. And Vogel is no slouch. So this would be a nice little chess match just between the coaches. They
Yep.
both shown this playoffs that they'll do different things. They'll try to get whatever they can to get the wins. I mean, the Lakers have looked. They've only lost 3 games this whole playoffs, and the Heat have lost 4. So you're looking at the two most dominant teams by record so far. The thing with the Heat, they have to stay close. There's not going to be any game this series where they're going to blow out the Lakers. They don't have
Yeah.
that propensity. They don't have really that much firepower. If you can get into Tyler Hero early, if you can get into Goran Dragic and watch those screen and rolls with him and Adebayo, you can kind of start their offense. I mean, the Lakers get out, they can score. But I wonder if the Heat are just going to, dare them to shoot. The Lakers, they have shooters, but they don't have shooters. I mean, they have guys that'll shoot the ball, but they don't have anybody that's going to make the shot. It depends on how KCP is going. And, I mean, Danny Green comes alive in the finals. We know that. We've seen that. We'll see if you replicate that. They have some battle-tested guys. The Heat don't. I don't think they have anybody on their roster that's been to the finals besides Udonis Haslem. He don't play.
True.
So I mean, it's going. Even though it is in the bubble, I mean, the finals is the finals. Like this
Yeah.
is the grandest stage. You did all that, and it was cute for a while, but can you do it continuously? Can you do it against LeBron James, who has shown that he will shut down anybody who's trying to come after
It's
his
so
crown again?
it's so funny to think about because Jimmy Butler's probably on the other end thinking the same thing. Like, yeah, nah, I can shut down everybody. They got to worry about me. Like, here we are, like the two best players in the NBA at the finals. Finally, I finally
Right.
made it. I am what nobody thought. He's like, I'm a win. I'm a winner. I'm the
and
best in
and
the
that's
NBA.
crazy
Now he
because
found his role to actually be in the finals.
yeah, we got to give some props to Jimmy Butler or James as Brett Brown would call him. I mean, for him, he's the catalyst. He doesn't even have to score. Bam is their best player, but Jimmy just does so many things for them that it's crazy. Like so, shouts out to Jimmy. He's gonna have to score this series though. He can't do that. I'm gonna wait to the fourth quarter because there ain't gonna be no fourth quarter. So
Yeah.
he gonna have to come out and try to get some type of offense going. But I don't know if he has that type of game, especially if his jumper ain't working. Cause he's not
Yeah.
getting inside. That's not going. he does the same move too. He'll drive to the inside and then he'll do like a fake. And then if you bite
Hmm.
for it, he got you. If you just stay home, it's nothing he can do with you. So I
Yeah, he's
think,
got to dial in a lot. He's a good case of irrational confidence getting you pretty far.
yeah,
So I mean,
so
I've seen a ton of comparisons to what this underdog team could be like, but in your mind, you know, I've seen comparisons to 2000s Pistons, the '04 Pistons. I've seen comparisons to younger OKC. Just a bunch of underdog teams that kind of propelled themselves all the way to the finals. Do you see any comparison with this Heat team to anybody of the past, or you just think they're a whole new animal?
to me, I kind of think of them as like the '09 Magic team, the team that
No,
ended up
okay.
playing the
Okay.
Lakers.
Yeah.
They're pretty much, you go, Bam is the big guy, as you're the white syndicate, and then you got guys like Rashard Lewis, Hedo Turkle, guys like, you know, they solid guys. You have a solid point guard, Jameer Nelson, like going like, but they can get you shots. They're knockdown shots. That's all you need. You got the big guy commanding the presence, and everybody else is doing their job, just getting open, trying to find
Yeah.
a way where they can make a play somehow. And you got some versatile defenders, and you got the Heat have a little bit of everything in everybody. Like they don't have one perfect superstar, but if you put them all together, you get about two, three really good players. So any night you don't know who will have it. And it seems like Kendrick Nunn has been set down, and the Heat are going about 6 or 7 deep, really 6, 7, 8 deep. I wonder if Kelly Olynyk gets off the bench this series. Probably
If it,
not.
I probably if it stays big, maybe.
A thing like Andre Iguodala, he cannot shoot, but if you leave him open, he will knock down enough of them that'll hurt you.
Yeah.
I think when you go to the benches, I mean, it's probably a wash. 'Cause, I mean, the Lakers bench is nothing to really look at. I mean, you got Caruso, you got Rondo, and then we'll see if Kuzma shows up. Shouts out to Kuzma and Tyler Hero, Eskimo brothers. But hey, it's an interesting series to me. I'm team. Well, I'll give my prediction later, but uh, I think it'll be a great series. I'm interested in a chess match between the coaches because I'm a nerd and I like nerd shit like that. Uh,
Yeah. Speaking of, I think Spo coach circles around Vogel, but Vogel just got Braun. Braun. See, it's not Spo versus Vogel. It's Spo versus Braun.
mm, not really. Now Vogel is the coach. Vogel.
In your perspective, I don't think so.
I mean Vogel. I mean, who you think changed the defense and got the offense humming? I mean, when it comes to the fourth quarter, yeah, it's Brown's offense. But I mean, when it comes down to it, I think Vogel is making most of the calls, most of the plays, and LeBron has trusted him.
Yeah,
So,
we'll see. We'll see how it goes. If I were to chalk up a prediction, I think it would be Lakers in five. They'll gentlemen sweep the whole way through.
that
I
would
think it'll be
be
a
kind
tough,
of
tough,
poetic. Yeah,
tough fight, but at the end of the day, I think they're just way too much.
they're way better than them.
Yeah, I think AD I had questions, and especially it showed in the earlier rounds where AD kind of just has some games where he's not the same. But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, now he's kind of at a different level. So if he's playing this proficiently, then there's no stopping them.
None. Yeah, since you gave yours, I'm thinking Lakers in 6. I want to give the Heat 2 games because they just scrappy and play hard. But
Yeah, they
like
could.
they could, but I don't think LeBron is here to play. I know LeBron isn't here to play. Like, and the only reason he didn't, win the other series like 4-0, besides the Nuggets one, is they kind of took a game off and took it lackadaisical. I don't think he's gonna have any of those games. Like I think they're coming out guns blazing from point A to point B, and I think the Lakers is okay. You know what? Lakers in 5. Why don't I just
Go
you
with
know?
it.
Yeah, yeah. Why I gotta couch it? Lakers in
Being a,
5.
being on the Braun train, what is if they win title number 4 mean to you? Like,
Title
what is
the hardest title in NBA history. First,
in terms of Bron's legacy? In terms of what Bron means to you, what does him winning his next championship mean?
it just solidifies him as the GOAT to me. You win 3 championships, 3 Finals MVPs with 3 different teams. Like you just out here slayed everybody. It's not his fault who he played and who lost or whatever happened. But this man is year 17 and a half, really year 18 at this point. And the way he just performs, I don't think there's been anybody in NBA history that's done the things that LeBron has done the way he has done it. If he wins this 4th championship, I don't think there's what else can you say about him negatively besides you can point out the 2011 finals and that'll be your only thing. That'll be a ring everywhere. Everywhere he's
Yep,
been, have a ring, and can't nobody just say that. So
it's
to
true.
me, he was already the GOAT in my eyes. But shouts out to MJ. He's always the GOAT too. But like if we were just talking best players of all time, if LeBron wins his 4th ring, he's officially #1 cemented.
Hmm. Yeah, see, I don't think it doesn't change my needle on him at all. I think he's just up there as one of the greats, and I think everybody can make the argument on a couple players on why with MJ and Kareem, but at the end of the day, for me, I think he's just at the top, and this will only add on more, and I think it just more so closes a bunch of arguments rather than changes any of the existing ones right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll
Now,
see,
but
man. I'm
if he
excited.
loses, you know,
I don't think it moves anywhere either, though.
yeah, unless it's like a 3-1 collapse, like some
Yeah,
other
or
team
something
I know.
embarrassing. If it's something embarrassing, then yeah,
But it ain't gonna happen. LeBron not letting that happen.
yeah.
Lakers in 4.
Now you're on the sweep.
Uh-huh. Big sweep energy. I just wish we had Inside the NBA on so we can listen to them. That would be great.
Yeah, see the predictions. As much as I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not really trying to hear any more of the broadcast. I'm definitely gonna miss the Inside the NBA.
Mm-hmm. That ESPN one is like I want to like it, but I
They
don't
need the
know.
ESPN broadcasting mixed with the pre and
TNT.
halftime show with the
You
Inside the
know,
NBA. Yeah,
you know what they
between
need to
shows.
do? They need to just hire us. We come out there, turn that joint out real quick.
Right. Get a little
I'll,
bit of both.
I'll move to New York with the swiftness. I will. You know. But so have you been keeping up with Power Book?
Nah, I actually haven't got onto it.
Mm.
Finished up Umbrella Academy, caught up on The Boys, and The Boys is crazy. You watch The Boys?
Yeah, I haven't watched the second season yet.
Second season is wild. I didn't know that they were doing episodes per week, so
Yeah.
been doing that, and yeah, I haven't gotten to texting you about the Lovecraft County because now I'm only a couple episodes in. That's a roller coaster and a half, but so I haven't got the Power yet. I've heard it's big soap opera vibe, so I gotta be bored for it.
Well,
I'm
no,
about to
it's
take a
it's
I'm about to
soap
take a flight.
opera.
I'm about to take a flight tonight basically, so I'm gonna download the episodes, watch it on there.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's soap opera in the way it's shot, but it's good. Like it's good though. Like the content is good. Just they just shoot it like it's some music video or something. Like, bro, just calm down. Like, just tell us. We don't have to be all jumpy around.
Yeah, I gotta look out for it for sure.
So I think that brings us about to a wrap on our NBA Finals preview. Uh, we'll definitely be back next week if the finals is over. If it's not, you
For
know,
sure.
I'm quite sure it'll be over because like I said, sweet.
If anything, it'll be over by next week. But if anything, if hopefully we could get a game 7 just so that we don't have to let this NBA season go. Not ready for it. Not ready to see where the offseason fluctuates and what's going to be the result of next year. So
Yeah, only thing I'm
it's
excited about is we got some good things for the pod in the off season. So if you thought we was going away when basketball went away, you thought
Never.
wrong.
It never goes.
Can't get rid of us like herpes.
Hey,
I
yo.
think that's it.
Good. If anything you learn from this pod, it's we're good herpes.
Right. But I think we could tie a bow on that. Happy finals. Or are you doing anything for the finals? Oh, you about to take a flight? You said.
So I mean, yeah, I'll probably drink tonight. So I'm a little drunk because I got a flight at 4 a.m. So probably gonna get lit for that. So that's really it. No big plans. Not really trying to be at the bar. I don't really like watching basketball at the bar, anyways. But especially during
Yeah,
right
it's a
now. So,
tough. It's not like football. With football, you can kind of like get a break in between.
yeah,
Basketball, it's like
and basketball is possession to possession. So
yeah, people trying to talk to you while you trying to watch the game. It's like nah.
yeah, it ain't the flow. What about you? What are you doing for the game?
Probably get some food, get some drinks tonight. Nothing too special, you know. Got to hit the 9 to 5 in the morning, so
There you go.
punch that clock.
Well, that about wraps it up. If you made it this far, please like, follow, subscribe, refer us over to anybody you know who loves listening to sports, loves listening to us.
Right, 5 stars, big 5-star energy. If we're not rolling with that, we're not rolling with you.
All right, now. All right, bro.
All right.